Picture this. You take a DNA test for fun, maybe to find out if you're part Irish or have some distant royal blood. It's supposed to be a lighthearted dive into your roots, a story to share at the next family barbecue. But what if that test rips your entire world apart, exposing a secret so shocking it destroys the family you thought you knew? Welcome to Shocking Stories, where we uncover the truths that lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. Today, we're diving into a tale about a woman whose curiosity about her ancestry led to a discovery that changed everything. Ever wonder what your DNA might reveal? Buckle up, because this story will make you question everything you know about your family. Her name was Laura Bennett, a 35-year-old accountant living in a cozy suburb of Denver, Colorado, about 10 miles from the city's bustling downtown. Laura grew up in a tight-knit family, the only child of Tom and Diane Bennett, who doted on her with family vacations to the Rockies and homemade birthday cakes. She'd always felt loved, secure, the kind of childhood you see in sitcoms. But Laura had a nagging curiosity about her heritage. Her parents were vague about their family tree. No stories of great-grandparents or long-lost cousins. "We're just a small family," Diane would say, smiling. So, when a coworker raved about a DNA test kit she'd taken, Laura jumped at the chance. She ordered a kit from a popular company, swabbed her cheek, and mailed it off, expecting to learn something fun, maybe a connection to Scotland or Italy. What she got instead was a bombshell. 6 weeks later, Laura got an email with her results. She opened it excitedly, but her smile faded as she scrolled through the data. The test showed no genetic match to her parents. Zero. Not a distant cousin, not even a trace of their DNA. Laura's heart pounded. There had to be a mistake. She called the company, who assured her the results were accurate. "Sometimes families have secrets," the representative said gently. Laura laughed it off, but the seed of doubt was planted. She confronted her parents that evening at their house, a modest ranch-style home 5 miles away. Tom and Diane exchanged a glance that made Laura's stomach drop. "You're our daughter," Tom said firmly, but his voice cracked. Diane's eyes filled with tears. "What aren't you telling me?" Laura demanded. After a long silence, Diane whispered, "We need to talk." They sat Laura down and told her a story she couldn't believe. In 1990, at a hospital in Denver, Diane had given birth to a stillborn baby girl. Devastated, they were about to leave when a nurse approached them with an offer. A healthy baby girl, born the same day, needed a home. The mother, a young woman with no family, had vanished after delivery. Tom and Diane, grieving and desperate, agreed to take the baby, Laura, without asking too many questions. It wasn't an official adoption. It was a quiet arrangement, papers signed in a back room. Laura felt like the floor had vanished beneath her. "Who's my real mother?" she asked. Tom shook his head. "We never knew her name." That night, Laura lay awake, her identity unraveling. Was she adopted, or was there something darker at play? Have you ever wondered if your family is hiding something from you? Let's see what Laura finds when she starts digging. Laura couldn't let it go. She needed to know who her biological mother was and why she'd been given up. She started with the hospital, St. Mary's, still operating in Denver. The records from 1990 were archived, but a sympathetic clerk let her see a file after hours. It listed a Jane Doe who'd given birth to a girl on the same day as Laura's birth. No other details, just a note. Patient left against medical advice. Laura's next stop was the DNA company's database, which connected her to a distant cousin, Emily, living 200 miles away in Colorado Springs. Emily, a chatty retiree, was thrilled to meet Laura over coffee. She didn't know any Jane Doe, but mentioned a family rumor about a cousin who disappeared in the 80s after a scandal. She was mixed up with some bad people, Emily said, her voice low. Laura's heart raced. Was this her mother? Ever feel like you're one clue away from unraveling your whole life? Stick with me, because Laura's about to uncover something chilling. You ever feel like you're chasing a ghost, only to realize it might be chasing you? That's where Laura was, holding a hospital file with no answers and a family secret that felt like a ticking bomb. Her entire life was a lie, and the truth about her real mother was out there somewhere. Welcome back to Shocking Stories, where we're diving deeper into a mystery that shattered a family. Ready to see what Laura finds next? Because this story's about to take a dark turn. What would you do if you discovered you weren't who you thought you were? Laura's search became an obsession. She spent nights scouring online forums, genealogy sites, and old newspaper archives for any trace of her biological mother. The hospital's Jane Doe was a dead end, but Laura found a 1990 article about a string of missing women in Denver, all in their 20s, all last seen near St. Mary's Hospital. One name stood out, Rachel Carter, a 22-year-old who'd vanished after checking into the hospital for a minor injury. The article mentioned she was pregnant. Laura's hands trembled as she read. Could Rachel be her mother? She contacted a private investigator, Mike, a former Denver cop who specialized in cold cases. Mike warned her that digging into missing persons cases could be dangerous. Hospitals back then weren't always clean, he said. Some covered up messes to avoid lawsuits. Mike pulled strings to access St. Mary's old records, finding a hidden report about a baby swap in 1990. It wasn't official, just a memo between two nurses hinting that a newborn had been reassigned after a mother disappeared. The memo named a Dr. Harold Klein, who'd retired years ago but was still alive, living 50 miles away in Boulder. Laura and Mike drove to Klein's house, a secluded cabin nestled in the foothills. Klein, now in his 70s, was cagey, denying any knowledge of a baby swap. But when Laura mentioned Rachel Carter, his face paled. You need to stop asking questions, he said, slamming the door. On the drive back, Laura noticed a gray sedan following them for several miles. Mike brushed it off, but Laura felt a chill. Someone didn't want her digging. Back in Denver, Laura's parents were unraveling. Diane stopped eating, guilt eating away at her. Tom admitted they'd suspected the baby swap was shady, but were too desperate to question it. Laura felt betrayed, but she couldn't stop now. She found a lead on Rachel Carter through a true crime podcast that had covered her disappearance. The host, Sarah, agreed to share her research. Sarah had interviewed a nurse who'd worked at St. Mary's in 1990, now living in a nursing home 20 miles from Denver. The nurse, Ellen, was frail but sharp. She remembered Rachel, a scared young woman who'd come to the hospital alone, pregnant and bruised. She said she was running from someone, Ellen whispered. After she gave birth, she was gone. The baby, they said it was taken care of. Laura's heart sank. Was she that baby? And who was Rachel running from? That night, Laura got a text from an unknown number. You're asking the wrong questions, Laura. Her blood ran cold. She forwarded it to Mike, who traced the number to a burner phone bought at a gas station 5 miles from her apartment. Mike set up surveillance around her house, but Laura felt like she was being watched everywhere. Grocery stores, coffee shops, even her office. She started keeping a journal, documenting every clue, every strange encounter. One entry chilled her, a memory of her parents whispering about a deal when she was a kid. Was it tied to the hospital? Ever feel like the truth is a puzzle with pieces that don't fit? Let's see what happens when Laura gets too close to the answers. You ever feel like you're standing on the edge of a truth so big it could swallow you whole? That's where Laura was, chasing a mother she never knew, haunted by threats and a family falling apart. A DNA test had turned her life upside down, and now she was in too deep to turn back. Welcome back to Shocking Stories, where we're about to uncover the final twist in a tale that destroyed a family. Ready for the shock of a lifetime? Because this one's going to hit hard. What would you do if you realized your entire life was a lie? Laura and Mike pushed harder, focusing on Dr. Klein. Mike dug up old hospital records, finding a pattern. In the late 80s and early 90s, several women had disappeared after giving birth at St. Mary's. Each case involved Klein, who'd signed off on vague reports about abandoned babies. Mike suspected a cover-up, possibly tied to illegal adoptions or worse. Laura tracked down another nurse, Maria, who'd worked with Klein. Maria, now living 100 miles away in Fort Collins, agreed to meet at a diner. She was nervous, glancing over her shoulder. Klein was paid to make problems go away, she said. Young women, usually alone, would show up pregnant. Some left without their babies, others didn't leave. Maria confirmed Rachel Carter was one of them, last seen arguing with a man in a suit before she vanished. Laura's world spun. She found a photo of Rachel in an old newspaper, and the resemblance was uncanny. Same brown eyes, same wavy hair. Laura knew Rachel was her mother, but what had happened to her? Mike uncovered a lead. A former hospital administrator, now deceased, had kept a secret ledger of special adoptions. A contact at the Denver archives let Mike see it, revealing Rachel's baby, Laura, had been given to Tom and Diane for $10,000, no questions asked. The man in the suit was listed as R. Sullivan, a name tied to a local lawyer with a shady reputation. Laura confronted her parents, who broke down. Diane admitted they'd paid Sullivan, thinking it was a legal adoption. "We just wanted a family," she sobbed. Laura felt torn, angry, but heartbroken for their loss. The final clue came from an anonymous email sent to Laura's work address. It contained a single document, a death certificate for Rachel Carter, dated 2 days after Laura's birth, listing undetermined causes. Attached was a note, "Stop now, or you'll end up like her." Laura's hands shook as she showed it to Mike. He traced Sullivan to a law firm still operating in Denver, run by his son, Robert Sullivan Jr. Mike confronted Robert, who denied everything but let slip that his father had cleaned up messes for the hospital. That night, Laura's apartment was ransacked, her journal gone. Mike urged her to go to the police, but Laura hesitated. What if the truth destroyed what was left of her family? She didn't have a choice. The police raided Sullivan's old office, finding records of a baby-selling ring tied to St. Mary's. Klein and Sullivan had targeted vulnerable women, faking deaths to cover their tracks. Rachel had tried to escape with her baby, but was silenced. Laura's parents faced charges for their role. Though they claimed ignorance, Laura moved to a new city, 300 miles away, unable to face her parents' guilt or the town that hid the truth. She still checks her email, half expecting another threat. The worst part? Sullivan Jr. is still free, and Laura wonders if he's watching. So here's the question. Could you handle a truth this dark? This is Shocking Stories, and we're just getting started. Hit that like button if this blew your mind, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping tales. Comment below. What would you do if a DNA test rewrote your life? Share this video, because sometimes The truth is more terrifying than fiction.